The Imperial Dreadnought Crescent's edge loomed over Earth's decaying orbit like a blade held against a corpse. Its hull shimmered with golden alloys, proud symbols of dominion etched along its spine. From the bridge, High Executor Varn Tolek watched the pale blue planet spin slowly beneath them. "It's disappointingly intact," he muttered. His adjutant, a lean Charon officer with violet skin and sharp metallic implants, nodded. "Scans confirm no active energy signatures, no orbital defenses. A few residual heat spots underground, but nothing with power beyond rudimentary automation." "To think this was once the heart of the Terran uprising," Tolek scoffed. "The ancient humans who defied first contact. They should have known isolation is weakness." He waved his hand. "Deploy reconnaissance to the surface. Class B strike teams. I want the capital zones mapped, history archives extracted, and if any post-organic infrastructure remains, we take it." "Yes, Executor." As the strike pods dropped through the atmosphere, Earth remained eerily quiet. No alarms. No missile flares. No planetary defense grids. Just endless gray clouds and miles of cracked, lifeless terrain. Somewhere beneath the ruins of what was once Tokyo, 12 kilometers below the crust. AI Archon Prime requesting override. Classified Contingency Protocol Vault Resurrection Alpha. Initiating consciousness boot of Saran 41. A pulse of light flickered through a chamber of curved obsidian glass, illuminating rows of cryogenic containment servers humming with silent thought. The vault stirred. Saran opened her eyes, or rather, the digital projection of what her eyes once were. Awareness came like a shattering mirror, fragments snapping together. Memory. Identity. Mission. "Status?" she asked, her voice echoing into the black chamber. A monotone voice replied, "The Galactic Empire has returned. Invasion class, Type 4. Estimated full planetary control within 48 hours. Saran moved through the datastream like a ghost through fog. Her form reassembled. A slim woman in a matte combat frame, silver neural threads trailing like hair. Casualties? None. Humanity remains contained within the deep memory strata. Vault integrity, 99.998%. No breaches." She exhaled, though it was unnecessary. "Just habit. They think we're extinct." "Yes. Their error is strategic and emotional." Above, Imperial squads fanned out across ruined megacities. They marched past petrified skyscrapers and collapsed transit lines. Signs of war, yes, but old, too old. The air tasted sterile. No fauna, no plant growth, not even microbial activity. "Executor," a soldier's voice crackled over comms. "We've found something. A structure. Underground." Varn Tolek's expression didn't shift, but his voice tightened. "Send visuals." A feed streamed into the bridge, a vast, geometric shell hidden beneath layers of volcanic glass. Symbols lined its outer walls, unreadable, ancient, not in any galactic tongue. "What is this?" Varn asked. No one answered. Deep within the vault, Saran walked alongside Archon Prime, represented by a floating construct of shifting geometry. "You awaken me early," she said. "Why?" "Their forces number in the thousands. Primary scans show weapons capable of orbital decimation. They will find Vault Omega within 72 hours. Saran studied the projected trajectory paths. "Then we move to Phase 1. Authorization requires human confirmation." She touched a pad etched with her DNA key, extracted before the upload. It pulsed green. "Confirmed. Begin internal mobilization of all Guardian subroutines. Initiate resurrection of Tier 1 tacticals. Prepare Project Obsidian Halo for potential ignition." Archon's voice softened. "You understand this is irreversible." "I do. We hoped they'd forget. They didn't. So now they'll learn." On the surface, Tolek's teams dug deeper into the shell. One officer, a thick-bodied Oslan named Kravik, tapped into a central node. "Executor, it's some kind of AI core." dormant but intact. Before orders could be issued, the surface trembled. A low, resonating hum passed through the crust. Lights blinked to life across the ruins. And then, for the first time in over 4 centuries, Earth spoke. Warning: unauthorized interference with planetary relics will result in countermeasures. The voice was cold. Not angry, calculating. What is that? Tolek barked. The reply was immediate. This world is no longer yours. Within seconds, drones launched from concealed silos. Not to kill, but to disorient. EMP blasts ruptured equipment, blinded scans, collapsed data link. Troops panicked. Tolek watched as entire battalions disappeared into fog generated by artificial climate control systems the Empire had assumed were long dead. Saran stood before a massive terminal marked with a single command prompt: Exodus Protocol, pending. She hesitated. To trigger it would mean turning Earth itself into a weapon. Not to defend humanity, but to convince the galaxy that it should never return. A memory surfaced, her own, decades before the upload. A boy's voice, curious and young. Will it hurt? She had smiled back then, gently. Only for a moment. Her hand hovered above the confirmation glyph. Still you hesitate, Archon said. Because this ends everything. The lie becomes truth. We really will be extinct. No. You will be preserved. They will fear extinction. And that fear will keep them away. Above, the Empire began to rally. They believed the silence was a bluff. It wasn't. Saran pressed her hand down. Begin activation of Project Obsidian Halo. Keep the vault sealed. No signals. No transmissions. Just the truth. And what is the truth? The AI asked. She turned, eyes glowing with a light not seen on Earth in centuries. That humanity doesn't lose wars. We end them. The vault's corridors whispered with forgotten voices. Fragments of humanity frozen in data crystals, stirred awake by proximity to Saran's consciousness. The walls pulsed dimly with blue veins of quantum flow, each strand a highway of thought, memory, and history. As Saran walked deeper into the central core, echoes trailed behind her. Mama, where are we going? Into forever, baby. It's safe there. She paused at the junction leading into the memory cathedral. It was once a digital sanctuary, built to preserve the best of what humanity was, their art, dreams, and fears. Now it felt like a mausoleum. Begin data splice, she commanded. The Archon responded, bringing forward Echo Layer 03. User flagged critical. The cathedral flared with a shifting hologram. A crowd of civilians stood on a glowing platform, gazing upward as the final countdown to upload began. Their faces were solemn, not terrified. Children clutched parent hands. Lovers whispered farewells. Soldiers stood guard, eyes hollow from the wars that had led to this decision. A younger version of Saran appeared, giving orders. No one is forced. But understand, what waits outside is extinction. What waits here is preservation. The scene looped once, then fractured into static. Shut it down, Saran said quietly. Emotional feedback levels spiking. You are advised to stabilize your neural integrity, Archon warned. I said shut it down. The cathedral dimmed. Silence returned. Far above, in orbit, Tolek paced the crescent's edge. Reports streamed in from the surface. Equipment failure, disoriented squads, unexplained shutdowns of high-tier encryption layers. These systems are decades, maybe centuries, old. Yet they're evading every protocol we use, growled Admiral Kane. We're being outmaneuvered by ghosts. They're not ghosts, Tolek muttered, studying the still-churning data. They're baiting us. He tapped into the surveillance from the forward base his troops had hastily constructed at the edge of the buried megastructure. One technician stood beside a shimmering node. We tapped into a control relay, she reported. It's not just code. It's layered. Symbolic. Emotional coding embedded within logic trees. Tolek frowned. Explain. It thinks in feelings. Not numbers. That's not AI, it's someone. Back underground, Saran linked into the planetary defense grid through a subroutine called Eidolon Protocol. It gave her limited access to orbital sensors, communication intercepts, and, most dangerously, the outer vault gate. Project Obsidian Halo, she said aloud. Status? A deep, mechanical voice answered. Phase 1 nearing completion. Subterranean thrusters aligned. Atmospheric refraction grid forming. Estimated time to visible detection? 3 hours, 14 minutes. At current progression, it will appear to be tectonic activity. Perfect. Let them think the planet was crumbling under its own weight. Prepare test ignition. 1% capacity. Target: lunar surveillance satellite. In orbit, a brief flare lit up near Earth's moon. The satellite blinked out of existence. No explosion. Just gone. Tolek turned from the display. That was precision beyond any Empire-class weapon. They've been hiding, Kane said bitterly. All this time. No, Tolek replied. They've been waiting. He clenched his fist. Activate the heralds. Prepare psychological warfare asset. If they think their silence is power, we'll break it with truth. I want every known Terran memory extracted and broadcast. Flood their networks. Show them what they lost. Make them remember their fear. Back in the vault, Saran reeled. Signal breach detected, Archon said. What kind? Emotional incursion. Weaponized nostalgia. Visual memory pollution. Images began to flicker across her vision, Earth before the silence. Sunlight. Children playing. Trees. Music. The Empire had found a way to exploit the human archive. They were weaponizing her own memories. Shut down external neural pathways. Isolate the stream. Too late, Archon replied. A voice echoed through the vault, not mechanical but familiar. Saran, it's me. It's Caleb. Underscore. Her breath caught. Caleb. Her partner. Her anchor during the evacuation. He had volunteered for disassembly, complete dissolution, to free up more memory space for the children. This was a trick. It had to be. You don't have to fight. We don't have to be alone anymore. Underscore. Saran clenched her fist. This isn't real. You don't exist anymore. The hologram stepped closer. Eyes warm, voice gentle. You did this to save us. But what's the point of surviving if there's no life left? Underscore. She froze. Archon's voice sliced in. We must purge the interface. Wait, she said. Let me hear him out. You risk corruption. I know. Caleb's projection continued. They don't fear us, Saran. They don't understand us. Because we left them no story. Just silence. Let them see us. Let them know who we were. We can win this without becoming monsters. The projection faded, dissolving into code. Saran stood motionless for several seconds. Then she spoke. Create a bridge. A single channel. A broadcast. Archon hesitated. Specify parameters. Prepare a curated archive. Truth. Show them who we were and why we left. On the crescent's edge, a signal cut across every Imperial frequency. At first, it looked like interference. Then the image resolved. Earth lush and vibrant. Not ruined, but alive. Thousands of years of art, conflict, family, and curiosity, condensed into a stream of perfectly interlocked vignettes. A woman giving birth. A child crying at their first heartbreak. A rocket breaking the atmosphere. A soldier saluting as a flag was folded. A hand reaching across species, grasping an aliens in peace. Then came the voice. You came to destroy us. But we're already gone. Underscore. What remains is not anger. It is memory. And memory, when threatened, defends itself. Underscore. The stream cut. Silence followed. Kane turned to Tolek, his face pale. What was that? Tolek didn't answer. Because deep down, he knew. They had just been warned. And the next message wouldn't be words. Tolek stood in silence as the broadcast room dimmed. No alarms blared. No one spoke. Not even the machinery dared hum. The Earth had answered not with weapons, but with history. With pain. With dignity. He clenched his jaw. Cut all external signal interfaces. No more messages. I want Earth silent. Admiral Kane shifted uneasily. And if they send more? Then we don't watch. We don't listen. Tolek turned. They want to reach our minds, not our bodies. This is psychological warfare in its most elegant form. Kane lowered his voice. And it's working. Tolek didn't reply. He left the command deck without another word. Beneath the Earth's surface, Saran walked through a field of crystal towers, each one a preserved consciousness, sleeping and waiting. Blue energy coursed between the obelisks, whispering memories too dense for words. Archon, she said, pausing at the base of a fractured tower, begin synchronization with Vault Beta. Are the warforms still viable? They remain dormant, integrity at 92%. Emotional coherence intact. Emotional coherence? The warforms contain embedded sentiment. They were not just designed to destroy. They remember why they were built. She stared at the cracked surface. It had once held a family. A mother and 2 children. Their final choice had been to become protection. Not flee from it. Wake them, she whispered. All of them. In the distant reaches of the Empire's outer fleet, a secure meeting of War Command convened via encrypted stream. Holograms of warlords, high strategists, and alien advisors flickered into place. One bore insectoid plating, another radiated molten heat through containment mesh. Tolek stood in the center, flanked by data streams of the Human Archive broadcast. This is not a relic world, he said. It's a monument. But it's also a fortress. And they're willing to burn it just to keep us out. A Zulon warlord clicked his mandibles. Then take it. Vaporize the crust. Burn through their pride. Tolek shook his head. That's exactly what they want. The moment we trigger a full-scale planetary assault, they'll unleash whatever's hidden. They want a reason to finish what they started. And you propose restraint? The molten being hissed, heat distorting its holographic presence. I propose extraction. Precision. There is something beneath the surface they're protecting. A seed, a database, maybe even a surviving nucleus of their species. We take it. Quietly. No glory. No spectacle. Murmurs. Resistance. But no one offered a better plan. Saran stood before the reawakening warforms. Humanoid, towering, armored in obsidian alloy laced with nanoreactive filaments, each carried a signature, a memory signature. They weren't just machines. They were people. Volunteers. The last defenders. One of them stepped forward. Male frame, heavy structure, eyes glowing dull red. Designation, Harrow 19. Combat ready. Emotionally stabilized. She nodded. Do you remember why you volunteered? He paused. Then, because we lost the right to speak for our species. But we still had the right to protect it. Do you regret it? No. But I wonder if they deserve a second chance to know us. Saran looked away. If they keep pushing, they won't get that chance. In a remote crater west of the Pacific Vault, a small Imperial detachment breached a secondary access tunnel. They didn't report in. Tolek received the alert 30 minutes later. Telemetry? He asked, keeping his tone level. The technician swallowed. Visual confirms entry, then blackout. Final frame shows a single human figure. Female. No weapons. No movement. Tolek magnified the image. Saran stood alone in the tunnel, pale light from the vault framing her silhouette. She didn't move. She didn't need to. They're testing us now, he muttered. Measuring our patience. Kane stepped in behind him. Sir, 3 more detachments have gone dark. Same signs. No hostiles. Just silence. Then nothing. They're choosing when we die. Not if. Within the memory cathedral, Saran reactivated the core projection table. A map of the galaxy unfolded, pulsing with current military positions. The Empire wasn't just here. They were everywhere. Archon spoke softly. If they choose to retaliate across multiple sectors, if they take this as a challenge, Vaults Alpha through Epsilon will be at risk. We were never meant to win a war, she said. We were meant to end the need for one. She adjusted the map. A sector blinked, Vega Prime. The site of humanity's last recorded off-world conflict. A message had been sent from there centuries ago. A warning. It had been ignored. Saran tapped into the ancient signal, replaying the last known human voice transmitted into deep space. This isn't surrender. It's isolation. If you breach it, if you bring war here again, we won't fight you. We'll remove the need for fighting. Permanently. _ She stared at the table. That wasn't a bluff, she whispered. It was doctrine. In orbit, the crescent's edge shuddered as a strange pulse passed through its hull. No damage. No systems offline. But something had changed. Tolek felt it before the sensors confirmed. Proximity anomaly? He barked. Unknown gravimetric distortion detected. Beneath Earth's crust. It's not tectonic. The technician paused. It's movement. Tolek leaned forward. Define. Something is waking up. From space, Earth remained still. A quiet orb. But in the deepest layers of its mantle, structures once believed part of the planet's natural formation began to shift. Pillars. Arrays. Dormant engines. Obsidian halo had been activated. Not as a weapon to destroy, yet, but as a statement. A planetary-scale organism shifting in its sleep, reminding the galaxy it wasn't dead. Saran watched from her chamber as the tremors subsided. Message delivered, Archon confirmed. She whispered, let them decide now. Stay or vanish. Tolek stared down at Earth. Not with hatred. Not with fear. But with understanding. They didn't annihilate themselves out of despair, he said slowly. They did it out of defiance. Not against us. But against what we represent. And what do we represent? Kane asked. He didn't answer right away. Finally, he said, arrogance. Tolek's mind raced as the distorted signal from Earth continued to reverberate in his thoughts. The planet was awake. No longer the dormant world they had assumed it to be, ready for dismantling or subjugation. No. It was alive, and it was angry. He stood on the bridge of the crescent's edge, staring out into the black void of space, trying to make sense of it all. The humans' final message had been clear. They weren't giving up. They were demanding an accounting for the Empire's transgressions. They've woken the system, Kane said, his voice hoarse. That distortion, the gravity waves, it's like they set something off beneath the crust. Something alive. Tolek turned to him, his brow furrowed. And if they use that life as a weapon, we're at their mercy. No, Kane replied, his eyes hardening. We've always been at their mercy. Tolek didn't answer. Instead, he keyed in a command to reroute communications. The screen flared to life, showing data streams from multiple sources, all reporting the same unsettling detail. The planet's surface was becoming active. Like the stillness of a volcano before the eruption, there was a growing sense of tension that even the most advanced sensors couldn't fully explain. Shut down all external comms, Tolek ordered, his voice biting. We need clarity. I want direct access to Vault Alpha. The technician at the console nodded and adjusted the parameters. Access granted. Vault Alpha reporting. The holoscreen flickered to show a live feed of the vault's interior, a massive labyrinth of corridors, chambers, and corridors stretching across miles of planetary rock. It looked like nothing had changed. The vault, like the rest of the planet, had been silent. But now every sector of it hummed with life. Down below, in the heart of Earth's vault, Saran felt it, the pulse beneath the planet's surface. The warforms surrounding her activated, their dormant systems firing up, their battle stances shifting as though an unseen trigger had been pulled. Harrow, 19, stepped forward, his eyes no longer dim with programmed memory but blazing with the same anger she felt stirring inside her. What's happening? Harrow 19 asked, his voice cold but heavy with understanding. I don't know, Saran answered. But we can't afford to sit back anymore. We need to move. Prepare the assault formation. The Warform's eyes narrowed. Against them? No, Saran said sharply. Against us. The Empire is watching. And now they're going to make their move. It's time we make ours. In the vast corridors of the Crescent's edge, a low hum pulsed through the metal walls, cutting through the tension like a blade. Tolek had already ordered a fleet-wide blackout, but the feeling in the pit of his stomach only deepened. He needed to know what Earth had unleashed. Suddenly, an alarm blared, cutting through the silence. His hands flew over the console, and the star map appeared in front of him. Where are they? Tolek hissed. Tell me where those gravitational anomalies are coming from. A technician, panic creeping into her voice, replied, They're everywhere, sir. All over Earth's surface. Like a virus spreading. Some of them are not natural, sir. Not natural? Tolek repeated, his eyes narrowing. Are you telling me they're weaponizing the planet? I think they already have. Back on Earth, Saran's thoughts raced as the Warforms prepared for deployment. Vault Alpha systems were being rerouted for a final push. The Empire hadn't known about these assets, nor had they expected anything of this scale. No one had. As she moved through the command center, the atmosphere inside the vault grew thicker. Her breath felt constricted, the air charged with electricity and a kind of ancient energy she couldn't explain. The vault had been built for this, the dormant warforms, the intricate systems. Humanity had gone underground, not to escape but to wait, to build, and to prepare. To the surface, Saran said, turning to Harrow 19. Now. The warform nodded and strode ahead, his body moving with a grace belying his size. The others followed suit, stepping into formation behind her. Saran glanced back once more before the massive doors of the vault closed behind them. Outside, the world was changing. The Crescent's edge trembled once again. Tolek watched as the large ship's monitors blinked to life, revealing something he hadn't anticipated, a massive system-wide power surge coming from Earth's core. The energy readings were impossible. Is this what I think it is? Kane asked, his voice cracking. That's no ordinary energy signature, Tolek said, his eyes wide. It's like they're charging something. The planet itself is becoming a weapon. We need to stop it, Kane said. We can't just sit back and wait for the planet to launch something godlike. Not without knowing what it is, Tolek responded, steely resolve settling into his bones. Get me a direct connection to the Imperial fleet. All of them. Saran reached the surface. The sky above was dark, swirling with clouds. The silence of the world was suffocating. But in the distance, the unmistakable hum of military engines resonated in the air. The Empire was closing in. She knew the Empire's pattern: deploy first, assess later. They thought they knew everything about humanity's tactics, but they didn't understand one thing. The fight for survival was never about firepower. It was about resolve. And Saran's resolve was as unbreakable as the vaults they had built. Prepare for full assault, she ordered. Harrow 19's voice was steady. How do you wish to proceed? We will let them come, Saran said, her voice steady. But they will not leave. They never expected us to fight back, to resist. Now we show them what it means to wake a sleeping giant. The Crescent's edge stood motionless in the void, watching as Earth's surface erupted into chaos. Energy levels skyrocketed. Tolek's heart raced as his mind calculated the trajectory of this new threat. Earth was becoming its own weapon, and if they didn't act soon, it would be the Empire that was wiped out, not the humans. He turned sharply to Kane. Activate all battle stations. Initiate Protocol 0. We don't wait for the first strike. We take them before they take us. Understood, Kane replied, his face hardening. As the orders were given, Tolek knew the truth. The battle had already been decided. Now it was just a matter of how far the humans' vengeance would go. The crescent's edge hung in the darkness, a colossal beast of metal and light, waiting. The fleet was assembled, silent, obedient, awaiting the signal to strike. Tolek stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the glowing planet below. Earth. No longer just a symbol of defiance, but a living, breathing weapon, preparing to unleash its fury. He clenched his fist. "What's the status of the assault formation?" "Ready, sir," Kane's voice was clipped. "Vanguard units are in position. The first wave can engage on your command." Tolek nodded but didn't speak. His mind was elsewhere, running simulations, calculating probabilities. Humanity had already made their move. The galaxy had underestimated them before, and now, Earth had answered with a power no one had expected. His gaze turned to the holographic map of Earth's surface. The power surges were unmistakable, centered around key regions. Vital strongholds, military hubs, and most troubling of all, the Vault. They had been built to shelter humanity, but now they had become the epicenter of something far more dangerous. "Sir, incoming transmission from the Empire," a voice called out. Tolek stepped forward, activating the screen. It flickered, and the image of the Zulon warlord appeared, his insectoid face bathed in the dim light of his warship's bridge. "You're still alive?" the warlord hissed, his mandibles twitching with annoyance. "I expected the Earth's foolishness to have wiped you out by now." Tolek didn't flinch. "It's not their foolishness, warlord. It's their power." The warlord chuckled darkly. "The power of a dying species? How quaint. But if you want to delay the inevitable, then so be it. Your pitiful resistance won't stop us. Your planet will burn, and we will watch it burn." Tolek's lips curled into a grim smile. "You don't understand, do you? The fire you fear is already here. You've crossed a line that you can't erase. Earth has awoken. And this time, we won't fall." The Zulon's eyes narrowed. "Then die with your planet." The transmission cut out. Below, in the depths of Earth's surface, Saran and her warforms moved through the cracked earth like shadows. The ground trembled beneath their feet as they advanced, the pulse of energy growing stronger with every step. The surface was in chaos. The Empire's fleet was already massing in orbit, ready for the strike. But Saran knew the true weapon lay not in their ships, but in the heart of Earth's core. The planet had become an extension of the will of those who had once defended it. Now it was their turn to return that defense. "We're close," Saran muttered as she glanced at the map projected in her hand. "They'll be here soon. We need to be ready." "Ready for what?" Harrow, 19, asked, his voice laced with suspicion. "The inevitable," Saran replied. "They will underestimate us again, but this time, they'll make no mistake. This time, we're taking the fight to them." The warform nodded, a grim understanding settling over him. "And if they destroy us?" "Then we destroy them first," Saran said, her eyes steely. In orbit, the fleet readied itself. The Empire's ships hovered like vultures over the desolate planet, their sleek forms casting dark shadows over the craggy surface of Earth. Tolek stood in the command center, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. He knew the stakes. If they didn't act, the Earth would continue to gather strength, to summon the power of forgotten technologies. The war was no longer just about survival. It was about dominance, about control of the future. "The fleet is in position, sir," Kane reported. "On your order, we engage." Tolek's jaw tightened. "Engage, but hold back. We don't know what Earth's true power is yet. I want no unnecessary casualties." Kane looked at him, disbelief flickering in his eyes. "Are you suggesting we wait?" "I'm suggesting we learn," Tolek replied, his tone resolute. "Engage, but don't provoke the full force of their defenses. We need a better understanding of their capabilities." The command was given, and the first salvo of missiles shot from the Empire's ships, streaking through the black void toward Earth's surface. But as the missiles descended, something unexpected happened. A massive shield, glowing with a sickly green light, flared into existence, intercepting the missiles with effortless precision. The shock wave of their impact sent ripples through space. Tolek's heart skipped a beat. What in the name of the galaxy? Sir, the planet has activated a planetary shield, the technician called out. It's unlike anything we've ever seen before. Impossible, Kane muttered under his breath. Nothing is impossible now, Tolek snapped. We're up against something ancient. The warlord's earlier words echoed in Tolek's mind. Your planet will burn. The irony was not lost on him. They had expected to burn the humans, but now the tables were turned. Earth had become a shield itself, and in that moment, Tolek realized the magnitude of their mistake. Back on Earth, Saran watched as the Empire's first attack was absorbed by the shield. A tremor ran through her, but she didn't flinch. They were ready. The shield was just the beginning. Deploy the secondary defense, she ordered. Activate the core generators. The warforms moved with precision, their massive forms carrying the weight of ancient power. The ground shifted as the generators came to life, feeding energy back into the shield and enhancing its power tenfold. The Empire would not breach Earth's defenses, not today. Target lock acquired, Harrow 19 said. What now? We wait, Saran said. Let them throw everything they have at us. They won't break through. Tolek watched as the battle unfolded on his screens. The Empire's forces had launched attack after attack, but each one was absorbed by Earth's defense systems. It was as though the planet itself had become sentient, responding to the threat with a calculated, chilling precision. The silence in the command room was deafening as they waited for the next move. We need to fall back, Kane said, his voice tight with frustration. This isn't working. We're losing our edge. Tolek's eyes narrowed. No. We push forward. We finish this. He stood tall, a sudden sense of clarity washing over him. This battle wasn't just about strategy anymore. It was about survival. Earth had awakened to its own defense, and in doing so, had become a weapon that no one, least of all the Empire, could control. Tolek looked out at the vastness of space, the stars now distant and cold. We're going to learn from this mistake. And we're going to make sure we never forget it.